Hi everyone, welcome to Design Project 2. Now the goal of Design Project 2 is to gain some familiarity with editing web pages, but more importantly it's going to give us a place to house our future multimedia projects so we can share them and learn how to make them available on the internet, which is an important part of interactive multimedia production. So although we're not actually producing multimedia right now, we're setting ourselves up for the next 4 weeks of the semester that we have a place to house it. Now, what are we going to do in this video? Well, first I want to give you a quick overview of the project. I want to show you how to activate your project homepage. Then I'm going to show you some of the tools that we're going to use, and then I'll walk you through actually editing some of the HTML. So importantly, here's an overview of the project. Now, as an affiliate of the University of Hawaii, you automatically get a UH homepage that's hosted on a UH server. Your UH homepage is hosted at www.hawaii.edu/tilde your username. Now that page is very simple and it just says, welcome to my homepage at the University of Hawaii. That's the page that we are going to edit. And when we're done editing it, we're going to make it look like the one here on the right, which is, it's just going to have our name up in the tab, and then it's going to have a little bit of information about the course. Now, importantly, I want you to recognize where this homepage is hosted. So take a look, it's www.hawaii.edu/tilde-hoffman2/ The HTML file itself is actually index.html. That's actually the file that it's loading. But let's say that you actually do have that page and you want to see the underlying HTML that makes up this page. Well, in Chrome, for example, you can go to More Tools, Developer Tools, and actually inspect the HTML. What that does is pop up the inspector tool, and if we just click on elements and focus in right here, we can see the actual HTML that makes up this page on the left. And if you look in here, you can see it's a very simple HTML page. It has a head tag and a body tag, and it's really quite simple. So we want something a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more modern, and so in this project we are actually going to leverage the Bootstrap Framework, which is a front-end component library. I'm sure many of you have heard of Bootstrap, and some of you have probably even used it before, which is great. We're not going to do any real sophisticated coding, but we can leverage some of the tools that are available to help us out. Now that you have that overview, let's go ahead and get started. So first thing we need to do is actually activate our UH homepage. So to do that, you need to go to this link down here at the bottom and go ahead and click on the login button. And you just log in with your normal UH credentials, your regular username, your regular password, and that's going to take you to this landing page here. And then what you need to do is click on Create Homepage. And when you do that, it's going to say, your personal homepage, blah, 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 has been created. It may take up to a minute before the changes are visible on the server. After you do that, click the back button. And then what I want you to do is also click on Enable Access to Existing Homepage Files. And when you click on that link, it takes you to this page, which says your personal homepage, blah, 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 has been enabled. And again, it's going to tell you just to wait a minute. So after you've done that, you should be able to type in this web address and see your actual homepage. Of course, you're going to replace my username with your own username. And from there, we're going to need to download and install some software. We're going to use an FTP program called Filezilla, and we're going to use the text editor called Brackets. And in the next part of the video, I'll walk you through that. Hello, everyone. We've already talked about how we're going to build our UH homepage. So now I'm going to walk you through that process. So let's take a look at my setup here. I have just a few applications down here. I've got Camtasia, of course, which I'm using to record this video. And we have Google Chrome, which we'll look at in a minute because we're going to be testing our web pages. I have TextEdit available in case I need it. And then I have the two applications that we are going to use, Filezilla and Brackets. So let's begin by coming up to Chrome, and you can see here I have a couple of different tabs open, and I have the main page of my UH homepage, which just reads, "Welcome to my page at the University of Hawaii." And of course, I've already shown you in the introduction that we are going to change that so it looks something like this. So adds a little bit color, it has a home button, and it's going to be setting us up to host our future multimedia projects. And I also have a tab for Bootstrap. And then we have a couple of applications here that we're going to download. Filezilla and then brackets. Filezilla is an FTP client. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol, and that's just simply used to move files from our local computer up to a server. And brackets is a lightweight text editor, which is useful for editing HTML and CSS files. So let's begin. The first thing that we need to do is actually install Filezilla. So let's get started. So I actually already have it installed, but I'm going to show you how to do this. So I come to the Filezilla website, which is filezilla-project.org. And then you'll see there are two quick links here. One is to download the Filezilla client. One is to download the Filezilla server. We want the client. So go ahead and click on that. And then you'll see it knows I'm using Mac OS, so it's giving that to me as the default. If you need a Windows version or a Linux version, you can click that here. If you click the Filezilla client, it's going to ask you which version do you want. Do you want the free version or the pro version? We want just the basic version. So click download and you will go ahead and begin downloading that file automatically. Now, I've already downloaded it, so let me go to my desktop here and you can see I have the Filezilla file over here on the right. So if I double click this, I am going to get the terms of service and I'm going to click agree, and it's going to mount this file. And then all I need to do is just double click this app and it's going to give me a warning. It's just saying, hey, you downloaded this from the internet. Are you sure you want to open it? And I'm sure, so I'm going to click open. And then we're going to get, I can close this other window and you can see here that I am going to get the installer. Now I can go ahead and click continue. And now there's a couple of optional offers here. I recommend that you skip those. Now I'm not actually going to go through this process because I already have Filezilla installed. I just wanted to show you this skip button so that you don't accidentally install something you don't want. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this and I'm going to dismount Filezilla. And I'm going to actually delete the installer here from my desktop. I don't need those things anymore. All right, so the first thing we need to do is actually connect to the UH server. And we're going to use this newly installed application, Filezilla, to do just that. So go ahead and launch Filezilla now that you have it installed. And you're going to get a little welcome message here. It says, welcome to Filezilla. Click OK. And what we need to do is come up to File, Site Manager. And that's going to pop up this page right here. And what we're going to do is add a new site, a new website that we have an FTP connection to. So to do that, we're going to click New Site. And we can give it a name over here. So I'm just going to call it My UH Homepage. And it's actually going to save this information in case we want to use this again. Now, after we do that, what we need to do is come over to the protocol and use this little drop down and click on SFTP, which simply means Secure File Transfer Protocol. So we want to use the secure version. And then for host, we have to type in the IP of the server, which is Unix, so University of Hawaii Unix.hawaii.edu. And then we need to put in a port number, which is 22. And then for logon type, we're going to drop this down and say ask for password. And then for user, you're going to type in your UH username. So in my case, it's Hoffman2. So I've got SFTP, Unix.hawaii.edu, port 22, ask for password, user Hoffman2. So you put in whatever your username. You can leave the password field blank. When you have all that information in, click connect, and you're going to get this dialog box from Filezilla, which is asking you, do you want us to remember passwords? And I typically say yes, save passwords, and just click OK. And then it's going to ask you, okay, you want to connect to this UH homepage as user Hoffman2, what's your password? Now here is where you need to put in your UH password. So I'm going to go ahead and put in mine and click OK. And you will see up here at the top that it's going to say directory listing Hoffman2 successful. And that means that I actually connected to the server. Now let's take a couple of minutes to get used to this screen so we understand what's going on here. So first thing I'm going to do is, just to make it a little simpler, a little easier to understand, I'm going to come up to View, and I am going to deselect Local Directory Tree, and I'm going to come back up here again and deselect Remote Directory Tree. So I just have these two panels. Now what's important to understand here is that on the left is your local site. In other words, your local computer. And on the right side is the remote computer. In other words, the server. And it's telling you the path to where you are on that server. And what I want you to notice on the server is there is a folder called public_HTML. And I'm going to double click on that and see what's in there. And look, there is an HTML file here called index. So that's the file that we're actually going to edit. Now, on my local computer, I am going to, these are all of the files and folders on my local computer. I'm going to go to my desktop and double click. And it's showing me a lot of some of the hidden files and stuff that you can't see here. What I'm going to do is create a new folder. So I'm going to right click on the local site and I'm going to say create directory. And I am going to call this directory public_HTML. And I'm going to click OK. And automatically it creates that directory, that folder for me. So I'm going to double click and go into it. And now what we have is a folder on my desktop called public HTML. And we have that same folder, public HTML, on the server. And so what I want to do now is download this index.html file to my local computer. And the way that I do that is just select it and drag and drop. And Filezilla is automatically going to download that file for us to our local computer. Now, how do we know that it actually worked? Well, if I minimize and come down to my desktop, look over here. I actually have a folder now called public_HTML. That's the directory that I created. And if I go inside there, I can see that there's actually one file, and it's called index.html. So that's excellent. That's exactly what we want to do. And we're going to edit that file in a couple of minutes. Now we need specific software to edit that HTML file. Now, if you already have a text editor that you want to use, go ahead and use it. I am going to use the Brackets software, which is an open source platform. So again, this is brackets.io, and right on the home page, it's going to say download Brackets. So I've already done that here, and you can see I've got the installer. If I double click that, it's going to unzip itself and give me the opportunity to actually install it. And those of you who are familiar with Macs know you can just drag and drop that into here to install it. Again, I've already installed it, so I'm not going to do it again. So let me go ahead and eject this and close this. And just remember, I have that public HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and start Brackets. And this is the first time I'm launching it, so it's going to take a minute, and it's going to double check. Are you sure you want to open this app that you downloaded from the internet? I'm going to click open, and it's going to head and load itself up. And you can see here you're going to get some warnings and things. You can go ahead and cancel the Brackets health report. And you can see here that it's actually giving you some examples of HTML files. And this is part of the Getting Started package. And we actually don't really need this. So you can delete those or just ignore them, whatever you want to do. So what we need to do is actually open our file that we downloaded from the UH server. So I'm going to go to File, Open Folder, and I'm going to navigate to my desktop, and I'm going to go inside of public HTML, and I'm going to just select Open. And by default, I can select that file. Now I'm going to make the text a little bit bigger here by holding down Command+. Just so we can use all of our real estate. And you can see this is a super simple HTML page. And if I collapse this HTML, notice I have two HTML tags there's a header tag and a body tag. Inside of the head tag, it says there's a title called welcome, and inside the body tag is a paragraph that says welcome to my homepage at, and then there's a link to the University of Hawaii. Now, if I come back over to Chrome and come to this welcome page, this is exactly what we see. Welcome exclamation point up here at the top, and then welcome to my homepage at the University of Hawaii. If I open up the developer tools in Chrome, more tools, developer tools, and make sure I'm on the elements tab, I can see the actual structure of this page, the header tag and the body tag with that paragraph tag. This is what we're going to be changing in this particular video. So let me go ahead and close that. Now, to actually change our HTML, we are going to leverage an existing front-end component library called Bootstrap. But what we're going to do now is actually come to the Get Started page. And they've made it really easy with some links that you can copy. So what we're going to do is scroll down here on the Getting Started page to where it says Starter Template. And what you can do is click copy right here, and it's going to copy all of that text to your clipboard. And then what I'm going to do is switch over to brackets, and I'm going to select everything in my index.html file, and I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to paste in the Bootstrap starter template. So I'm just going to paste that in, and voila, I have all of my Bootstrap text. Just to make it a little easier to read, I'm going to come up to View, and right now the word wrapping is on. I'm going to turn that off, and you don't need to know what these big long strings are, so they can run off the page without interfering with what we're doing. And let's go ahead and save this. Click File, Save. And now what I want to do is jump back over to Filezilla, and we're still connected. If we're not connected, I can come up to Site Manager, click on My Site, and click on Connect. Now, this is very important. What you need to understand is that on our local computer, because we just saved our index.html file in brackets, this file is different than the one that's on the server. So what I'm going to do is actually rename the one on the server just as a backup. So what I'm going to do is on the server side, I'm going to select, right click and rename. And I'm just going to say index_original.html. And then what I'm going to do, that's just a backup in case we want to go back. And then what I'm going to do is simply drag and drop index.html over. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to copy FTP that file up to the server. So let me come over to my browser now and come back over to our live site, and I'm going to refresh the page, and let's see what happens. And take a look. Automatically it changes. It says Hello World up here in the top, and it says Hello World down here. Excellent. So that's how we know that the changes we made in brackets is being saved, and then we uploaded that file. So the next thing we're going to do is actually take advantage of some of the components that come with Bootstrap. And we're going to use a component called the Jumbotron. So you can click on Components and then scroll down to where it says Jumbotron. And it's showing you an example of the Jumbotron right here, which is, it's got this big Hello World text. It's got a heading underneath that, and then some paragraph text, and then a blue button. And the code for that is actually, the HTML code for that is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that code. And then I'm going to come back over to brackets, and we're going to do a little bit of cleanup. Let me actually put in a little bit of space here. This is kind of personal style, but I like to put in some space here just to make sure everything is really easy to read. And so you can see we have our everything inside our header, and right now it says hello, world, and then we have an H1 tag. What I want to do is replace that H1 tag with a Jumbotron. So I'm going to select that H1 tag, I'm going to delete it, and then I'm going to paste in the Jumbotron code that we copied from the Bootstrap website. And then I'm just going to take a minute to clean this up a little bit with some indents. Now, it's okay if you don't understand exactly what's going on here. This isn't a course about HTML. And let's go ahead and save that. So I'm going to come up, File, Save. And then I'm going to switch over to Filezilla again. And then I'm going to drag and drop that file. But this time, it's going to give me a warning. And it's going to say, hey, wait a minute. There's already a file there called index.html. What do you want me to do? And by default, it assumes you want to overwrite that, which is what we want to do. We want to replace the existing index.html. So we're going to click OK. Good. And then let's come back over to Chrome to our first tab. And if we refresh that, boom, we see our Jumbotron and hello world, and our big blue button. Excellent. So now what we're going to do is just edit a little bit of this text just to personalize it, and we'll call that good enough for today. So let's come back over to brackets. And in our title, what I want to do is change hello world to our first and last name. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Dan Hoffman. And then in the Jumbotron, I am going to come down to this H1 tag, heading level 1 tag. Instead of hello world, what I want to do is change this so that it says LTEC 651 : interactive multimedia production. And got a little typo there. I'm going to fix that. And then you can really change the lead text to whatever you want it to be. I am going to just put in a little description, a collection of my multimedia design projects, period. And that's in the paragraph. I'm going to get rid of this text down here. And then for the link button, instead of saying learn more, I'm just going to relabel this to home because it's going to be our home page. So let's go ahead and save that. File, save, or Control S, come over to Filezilla. And I'm going to drag and drop this file over, drop it in. Do you want to overwrite? Yes. And I'm going to come over to Chrome, refresh the page, and you can see it's got my name up here in the tab. Now it says LTEC 651 Interactive Multimedia Production. It's got a little description, and then I have my home button. Excellent. So that's all, folks. If you have any questions, just let me know.